Welcome to We Are All Fine with Heidi Lester, counsellor and psychotherapist with over 25 years helping people navigate their mental health. Here we explore your inner world, feelings and relationships with insight and compassion.
Hi everybody and welcome back to We Are All Fine. I'm Heidi Lester, I'm a counsellor and psychotherapist, and today in episode 48 season 2 I am going to be taking you into a deep dive of a topic that I know gets a lot of online presence but I think is often misunderstood, and that's inner child healing. I want to bring you a grounded therapeutic perspective based on neuroscience and counselling, so by the end of today's episode you're going to have a clearer understanding of what it actually means and how you can bring it and practice this in your own life. This episode is for anybody who's ever felt emotionally reactive without fully understanding why, or maybe overwhelmed by closeness or conflict, or ashamed of their own needs, harsh towards themselves, or caught in patterns that they keep repeating. Inner child healing isn't about living in the past. It's about understanding how your nervous system has learned to respond in certain ways and giving yourself the care and compassion that you didn't always receive as a child. So wherever you are, whoever you are, and wherever you're listening, make yourselves comfortable. If it's through your ears or video and you're watching me do this podcast today, get yourselves comfy and let's begin. Let's start by clarifying what I mean by inner child healing. What is it and what it isn't? It's not about blaming your parents or endlessly trying to analyse your childhood or excusing any kind of harmful behaviour or thinking yourself as damaged or broken. In therapy, in counselling, when we talk about the inner child, we're talking about the early emotional lessons that your nervous system learnt long before you had any conscious choice. Things like getting comfort, whether your emotions were welcomed or whether your needs were noticed or ignored, and whether closeness may have felt safe or unpredictable to you. These weren't lessons you thought about. They just organic. They were felt, but they're stored in your body and in your emotional brain. Now, inner child healing is about bringing that adult awareness you have now, regulation that you're able to do, and self-compassion to those early imprints in your mind. It's not about fixing them or erasing them, but integrating them into your present self. Neuroscience helps us understand why this is so powerful. The parts of the brain responsible for your emotional memory and threat detection. Now, this is the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the limbic system. They develop early, long before any logic, language, or choice catches up. So when something happens now, maybe a tone of voice or a perceived rejection, your nervous system reacts first. Your heart is going to maybe race a little bit, your muscles might feel a little tense, and your thoughts might feel a little bit narrow. This isn't you regressing, it's neutral neural memory. Your inner child healing works by creating new experiences of safety that gradually rewire these neural pathways. It's literally teaching your brain and your body that it's okay, you're safe now, and you can stop reacting to those old ingrained patterns that your brain is holding on to. You might notice that these early experiences that show up in adult life in ways that feel a little bit confusing. That's normal because maybe you're a people pleaser, I know I am, or maybe you close down emotionally and shut off, or you might have a real fear of rejection or abandonment. You might struggle to trust people or feel that intense shame after some kind of conflict with somebody in your life, or maybe you just say yes all the time and take on too much responsibility. If any of that sounds familiar, but from a therapeutic lens, these are what we call adaptions. Your nervous system has learned that these strategies that you have learned over time will help you survive or make you feel like you belong or you matter. So what does healing actually look like? Not by revisiting memories alone. It happens when your nervous system experiences consistency, predictability, emotional attunement, that's being present and staying as contained as you can be, choice, and repair. So working from your own internal value system, no one else's. So in therapy, this is going to look like learning to tolerate emotions rather than escaping them. So developing those self-soothing skills that maybe you didn't get a chance to develop as a young person, by replacing that internal critic, that criticism, with curiosity and setting boundaries without collapse or any kind of guilt, because I know that's what lots of us, that's the feedback when we put boundaries in place. We feel guilty. We feel like we're letting somebody down. And we need to learn to respond rather than react. That's what healing's going to look like. And you don't heal your inner child by fixing it, putting those band-aids all over it. You don't. You have to have patience. You heal by becoming a regulated, responsive, internal caregiver, your own parent. Sounds fluffy. It's really, really not. That's neurological safety working in action for your benefit. And it's something you can learn to do when you start to heal. In counselling, I'm always using the words regulated nervous systems. So I'm going to talk to you about that, but I'm going to slow it right down, because regulation doesn't mean calming yourself perfectly, and it doesn't mean forcing yourself to feel better. Regulation means helping your body feel safe. That's the takeaway from today. When you regulate, I am helping my body feel safer in the present, in the moment. And safety, it cannot be brought into your world by logic thinking. It's always created through experience. So instead of asking yourself something like, why am I like this? Which is like a bit of a direct, blunt question to yourself, a gentler, more helpful question, things you can start to and ask yourself instead is, what would help my body feel soft, even by 5%? That's a really lovely way of trying to manage feelings here. Not what am I going to feel better right now? Can I make myself feel 5% more comfortable? Not 50, but just 5. I think that's a lot more achievable and a much safer way of working with those emotions when they become a little bit spiky or dysregulated. And one of the simplest regulation tools, and one I'm always using in my office, is orientating. This means gently bringing your attention back to the present moment through your senses. The most obvious things when we think about orientating ourselves in the moment is looking around the room quietly and just doing a bit of an inventory. So what 5 things can I see right now? And you might notice the temperature in the air. Is it cold? Is it warm? How does my skin feel? Does it feel tight? Does it feel tense? Does it feel relaxed? Does it feel cool? Temperatures are really good with regulating senses. And feel the support beneath you, the chair, your feet on the floor, maybe a table in front of you, maybe just closing your hands together and just putting the solidness of of the space around you into the present moment. This tells your nervous system one really effective message: I'm here and I'm safe right now. It sounds basic, but it's incredibly effective. One of my absolute go-tos as a psychotherapist, especially when emotions feel sudden or often overwhelming. We can't always peel them back or track our emotions back. It's the same with anxiety. If we feel random anxiety, we're trying to find ways to work ourselves through that. What is this all about? Often it can just be random. Regulate yourself, bring yourself back in the moment. That way your nervous system is going to feel safe. Another powerful regulation tool you can use is paced breathing, but do not force it in any way. And don't worry if you've ever felt anxious if someone says, oh, just take in a deep breath. That's actually quite normal. This is going to help you though. So try instead to lengthen the exhale. And the one I use, 47. You inhale for the count of 4. And the longer exhale lasts for 7 seconds. And it's that 7 seconds that are really going to calm down your nervous system. Don't try and empty your lungs or feel forced or feel pressured in any way, because that won't help you at all. What you need to do is give the signal to your body the threat has passed. And that 4 and 7 is 11 seconds will absolutely help you do that. You might have to do 3 or 4 rounds of it. That's totally fine. But just remember, we're looking for 5% better. If I can get you feeling 5% safer, we're onto something here. And another regulation practice I often use with clients in here is containment. Now, this is especially helpful if emotions feel high or way too big in those moments. You might just imagine placing the feeling, not getting rid of it, but placing it somewhere safe. So we're going to contain it outside of our bodies. So we're going to experience this rather than feel it. So maybe you want to put it on a shelf in the corner of your room, or maybe in a box under your bed, or in the back of your phone. You're telling yourself, okay, I'm going to just contain this for a few moments, however long you need to, and I'm going to come back to this when it feels safer, when I know I can process it with more self-compassion and less judgment and fear. Even by having that internal dialogue with yourself, you've given yourself permission to shift the feeling outside of your internal being. This will reduce panic and overwhelm. Then there's temperature regulation. Now, this is a surprisingly effective tool. Holding something warm like a cup of tea, wrapping yourself up in a blanket, maybe a weighted blanket if you've got one, even washing your hands in warm water, maybe holding an ice cube very, very gently into your hands. Warmth, very soothing. I think we know that. Your nervous system, when it feels warm, it can link back to early experiences of comfort and care, whatever that might look like. On the other hand, a brief cold snap, maybe the ice cube I just talked about, or cold water on your face, is going to bring you out of emotional flooding and back into the present moment. As is movement, another really good regulation skill. Intentional, gentle movement. Don't push yourself. Don't go for a 5K run. I'm thinking more things that are more contained and slower, and quite intentional is the word. Things like stretching, just swaying, just gently swaying your body. That's a good way of regulating it and bringing it back. It's a nice cradling feeling. Walking really slowly, or just rolling your shoulders. We tend to hold tension and stress here. So just stretch out your arms, roll your shoulders, or yawning. Stretching your mouth and yawning will really, really just help loosen the neck here and drop down into the shoulders. Again, all intentional movement that you have full control over will help you, because it discharges, gets rid of stress hormones that get trapped in the body when our emotions, we either suppress them or they're too overwhelming to feel. And it's going to help your system complete the stress cycle instead of getting stuck in it. So we're going to bring the cortisol down and bring the adrenaline down to a reasonable level that we're all right living with. And let me just talk about language as well, because how you speak to yourself matters more than I think you know. And when something gets activated from our past, we try talking to ourselves with compassion instead. And I want you to start thinking about self-compassion. These are kind words, exactly as how you would speak to a friend. Bring it inwards and speak to yourself. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, rather than, oh, this is horrendous, I'm failing, this is weak. No, I notice I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, or overwhelmed right now. And maybe if you are revisited or are being revisited by old, uncomfortable memories of the past, tell yourself exactly that. My body right now is responding to something old. And please try and get the mantra, I don't need to fix this. I just need to stay as I am with this present moment and be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because it always will pass. This kind of self-talk will act like an external regulator, that internal voice, similar to how me, if I was your therapist now, how I would be calming you down, making you regulate, or supporting you regulate at the end of each session. And finally, in our podcast about how we can heal our inner child, we are going to talk about permission. This, I think, is one of the most underrated regulation tools. Now, it's permission. Listen, permission to pause, permission to rest, permission to not understand everything right now. Many people stay dysregulated because they're fighting their experience. They're trying to make sense of it. Regulation will always happen faster when you stop arguing with what your body is feeling and start responding to it instead. And I often say this in therapy, and I'm going to share it with you too. You do not need to feel calm to feel safe, and you need to feel supported. And support can come from your breath, your body, your words, your boundaries, and eventually from you from within. We are trying to establish and develop an internal part of you that can soothe and regulate your nervous system. So what does inner child healing feel like? It's not dramatic. It's not sensational. It feels steadier, less reactive, quieter internally, and kinder. You will still feel your emotions, but you will not get lost in them or away in your own head, drowning by those thoughts and feelings. You're not becoming somebody new. You're becoming more integrated. Take a moment now and notice how that feels for you in this moment. Even small awareness of your emotions is a gigantic step towards self-trust and emotional integration. I also want to add something personal here. Over the years, I've noticed in my own life, even as I am a trained, loads of experienced therapist, I can forget all of those skills when it comes to me. But there are certain moments or times or people or stuff in my life, maybe a tone of voice, some kind of conflict when I feel rejected or abandoned or not heard. It triggers my inner child instantly. And I can see she's about six. She's about 6 to 8. I can see her, I can feel her. But what's happened in therapy and practice for me over the years is I've learned that I can't fix that, but I can give her a bit of a cuddle. I can let her in. I don't fight her anymore. And by doing that, I've learned to regulate myself. I've given my own nervous system cues of safety, and I do now respond with a lot more kinder words. I'm more curious about why I do what I do, and I tell you what I'm really working at now is stopping that shame when I do feel reacted. I'm a work in progress, so are you, but I found by being with myself in this way as I've grown up, especially I've got through my 30s and 40s and now my 50s, I feel a lot comfortable, I feel a lot safer, and it doesn't make me feel as painful as it wants to, because I understand it's normal. I know we all experience it, but I have learned, and I'm really hoping this podcast today has given you some tips and skills to know, A, it's normal to have that inner child that needs healing. It's not your fault, and you can absolutely do something about it. Thank you all so much for spending your precious time with me and our podcast, We Are All Fine. It's been great exploring the inner child healing with you. Remember, don't blame yourself. Past is what it is. It's about understanding how your early experiences have just shaped your nervous system and how now you can learn to respond to yourself with care, compassion, and choice. Really important. We need those 3 things in your life: care, compassion, and choice. So next week, we are going to move on to a topic that I'm hearing in my counselling room a lot right now when I'm working with younger people, adults as well. I'm going to call it ghosting, connection anxiety, and modern relationship pain. And we're going to explore why these patterns, they show up in our lives, what they signal to us about our attachment style, and again, our nervous system, and how to respond in ways that are going to help you feel safe and connected. So it leads really beautifully on from this week's episode. So before I bid you a fond farewell on this Monday, take a moment before you leave the show or press pause or go, just to notice what's come up and notice how you feel. You're learning, you're growing, and giving your inner self the attention it deserves. So be gentle with yourself. And as always, if this episode has resonated, please do consider sharing it or leaving me a review or sending me some feedback. Reach me at HeidiWeAreAllFine@gmail.com, or you can follow any of my daily videos at TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I love hearing from you. Please do come over and say hello. So until next week, we are all flawed, insecure, nervous, and emotional, but always remember, be yourself. You are no one else. Until next time, you take care. Finally, some important takeaways. This podcast is for informational use only and should not be used as a substitution for professional advice or personal diagnosis. These opinions are personal and I do not guarantee the accuracy of such opinions or information. I'm not intending to create a counselling relationship with you, and you should always consult a qualified mental health professional with any concerns.